Hey, welcome back to this behind the scenes look at Shrimp of the House Recall. We're still here in part 6, and this is page 16. What I'm basically doing here is sort of creating the cam view for the computer. So I remember this one 12, and we'll just call it computer. You'll see it in a second. We're going to render this picture and then put it on the computer. So it looks like the computer is recording him. Um, I know I've been talking quite a lot about this uncertainty over how long this part is going to be, whether it's going to be done in 7 or whether it's going to go to an 8th. And I think coming into this page, as I was setting this one up, I think it kind of really struck me hard that part 7 will be the last one. And I say hard, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think it's just like, it's like one of those things that hits you all at once. There's kind of no denying it. It's including this page. There's 33. That would make 33 pages left in the story. And even though I think sort of like the flashback sequence I've been thinking about, that to reveal who knows what and when, and then sort of the tie-up scenes. Like I said, I want to do one scene where Alex actually gets his grade. It's made real for him, that sort of thing. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Yes. Grab. See, so here's the outline to the camera up here to to sort of get the from the computer shot. I don't think I've got a. I don't have. I don't really have a webcam model in my library. So I'm going to park this one here. Although I think I could get one without much trouble, but it's just in the I'm lazy category, and I can get away without it. So we're just gonna drop this one. And render that one. Just like I said, I want to do a scene where Alex gets his grades and his situation becomes real. Oh shoot! Oh no! Okay, never mind. I'm sitting here looking at the pictures reversed. Yeah, I think I'll get. I think I can get away with that. I think that'll be fine. And then I want to do another scene where they're spending another piece of time with the neighbors, and Alex and CJ kind of go to the side, go to the side and have their own private conversation. But it's like I'm sitting here thinking about it, and 33, 32 pages after this one is a lot of space. I think it struck me that if I try to go another 24 pages, this is really going to get watered down. So I think, let's see. Now let's do we'll do a big shot of the desk to give it some scope. I can do the small, tight shot on his face. Plus, I don't know if I'll be able to, if at the rate I'm going this week, I don't know if I'll be able to get it out. Actually, I don't think I will be able to. I'll have to really, I'd have to like fight through everything to get it done, but it would be nice to have this done by the end of the month. Save. Okay, so let's zoom in on his face. So the idea is now we've gone into wacky clothes. I think I mentioned in a previous video that we're sort of hand waving the clothing issue. So the idea is now we're moving into. So now we're trying to suggest that this is doll clothing. So it's not exactly a complete outfit. What are we looking for? It's like I ended up getting the last part 5, out a lot quicker than I've been working, and then I hit a wall this week. Like at about this part. So it's like coupled with a growing sleep deficit that I just can't seem to get caught up on. It's not insomnia. Uh, it's like I'm so tired now that when I can lay my head on the pillow, I can go out, but I won't sleep a full 8 hours. So it's like the missing two. It's like the the 2 hours more I would like to get just keeps adding on, and I'm just tired. It's like at the point where I feel like I'm a walking corpse. It's getting harder to just concentrate on this, and it's like I'm so tired. Staring at the screen is giving me a headache this week. So it's just been a lot of like non-productivity. Let's see, and Aiden. And Aiden, I'm sorry, I'm not there to see you grow up. Let's see. I think what's like added to it this week. I did start recording because I kind of want to show it and talk about it. But I did get a flash of inspiration this week, and it kind of took over the last day or two. Oh, we've already got the picture. See, he just looks ridiculous. And I kind of hate to have it sort of take over my thinking right now because I'm nowhere near ready to consider a new project, so to speak. Because I do have a couple of ideas that are going to come, a couple of stories that I'm going to do first or next, or however you want to think of it. After I finish this one and Sister-in-Law, which will be a good thing. It'll so like whenever I get to this, whenever this new idea, like I get to the point of actually like getting serious with it, it'll probably be like late this year. So there's a lot of time to think about it, and it's a lot of time to sort of lose interest in it as well. Um, you know what? No. I was toying with the idea of just closing that bathroom door, but what do we want? Liz. I don't think she's worn the skirt in a while, so let's put her in the skirt. And we gotta fit all the. So now, it's like I've been spending the last couple of days in character creation mode, um, and in my head, kind of brainstorming the story. Okay, so we can take this off now. Ah, okay, what the heck? Oh, this skirt is off. There we go. Come on. Before we go violating terms of services regarding nudity. So it's again what I have to say, what I'm going to say on it from here on. Okay, let's take the pelvis off so we don't. Actually, I wonder. I think it's got a smoothing modifier. If we take smoothing off, oh my god, it's a disaster. So keep in mind, like in my head, I've just been throwing out ideas. So like none of this is definite. The story idea is, if when it gets to the point of production, it'll probably look not much like this. It'll probably be a lot different than what I've got in my head now. But let's see. I'll come back to that thought after I get this word bubble up. Control C on that one. He says two layer. Let's turn it this way. So I think the premise I'm thinking about is that it's a near future story. Instead of it being exactly contemporary, I think it'll be set in a little bit in the future. So that way, it's like the rules of society can be different, but the world isn't drastically different like you'd expect in a story set in the future. It's you basically just you're dealing with more or less a generational shift in things. And I think what I'm going with, or what I've got in my head so far, and again, this is just a loose premise. I probably can't stress this enough, but the idea is the main character would be sort of late teens, or probably like mid to late teens, maybe like 16, 17 to start with. And it would be a multi-year story. So, it's not something that plays out in a short time like a lot of these do. Um, I think I should start off probably start off by saying this is kind of this, is I've sort of got this idea that this will be a little different, or maybe a lot different in style than I've been doing. Uh, yeah, you know what? I've got to condense that. I was stretching this out when really I need to cut it down. Okay, yeah, that works. So it would end up, instead of it being like a series of events that flow one to the other, it would kind of be like one of those, like you're basically following the life of the character. So the idea would be, at about 16, 17, he's a little undersized. The new thing in their society is that his generation is being subjected to sort of genetic enhancement. So, like, where like his parents' generation are completely normal, like his generation is sort of being quote unquote corrected, that sort of thing. So it's like normally, like he's undersized for his age. Normally, his parents uh, would have it corrected through genetic enhancement to make him bigger. But I'm thinking his family is poor and can't afford it. So instead, they're given an opportunity by an institute for sort of another treatment that's experimental. Hmm. Uh, okay, I gotta zoom in here. So the idea, so and I'm putting a lot of thought into sort of like the setup, but I don't really see it being that huge. Oh my God, stop that part of the story. But the idea would be that is it's not just a medical facility, but in sort of a training camp, campus, complex, whatever you want to call it. So it's kind of in exchange for access to this experiment free of charge. And how do I say this without, and I'm like, how do I put this without it sounding sinister? And, but the idea is that I'm just going to say it, and it's not as horrible, and it won't be as horrible as it sounds, but it's going to sound horrible. But the idea is they hand him over to this institute. He's he sort of he moves into the dorm into their quote unquote dorm, whatever. So it's like he's receiving treatments, and then they're sort of training him for athletics because they're at the same time while they're running this sort of experiment, they're kind of using it to field a sports team, and I'm not really sure what sport that is exactly. Um, so it's the idea is in exchange he's signing up to be part of this sports team. I change that number. Yep. So I think again going towards generational shift. Um, I'm considering making it a wrestling league. That they're using this experimental treatment and enhancing these kids to compete in wrestling. I'm not entirely sold on that, but and the idea where like sort of the near future generational shift attitudes come in, it's sort of like I'm thinking the idea is that in a generation or so, it's it's not so much about skill, but people get into the sports to sort of just see the freak show, to see the monsters, to whatever you want to go. It's in this particular time period, it's not about like like clean, honest competition. It's about the show. It's about so it's the idea is that they're like trying to field the biggest guys they can just to make it a freak show, almost like almost like the I won't name the league, but like like what plays out on TV, except not as except maybe not as dramatic, more serious wrestling, but it's still the freak show aspect to it. But basically, the idea is that he moves into this training camp, undergoes the treatment, and basically trains for sports as part of the treatment, so to speak. And I'm thinking initially, because he's not the first kid there, he's sort of the smallest, and initially he kind of gets bullied and picked on by the other guys, who are a lot bigger than him. So that, like, initially he hates it, he wants to quit, that sort of thing, but ends up quickly realizing that it's not exact, it's kind of quickly realizes that it's not exactly bullying in sort of the sense he's used to at school or outside, but it's kind of more like a friendly hazing, because he's the new kid. They're razzing him, and they're razzing him. They don't mean to, it's like it's just trying to be like friendly, taunting and teasing. And once it's like once he realizes it, and once they kind of, once he realizes that they're really there to help him and that sort of thing, he becomes fast friends with them once he gets over. You know, it's Oops. So it's like I don't exactly want to do, so it's not exactly going to be like a bully story. He gets his revenge, blah blah blah. It's I think it's like he's going to miss it. It's like initially in the first days, weeks, months, whatever, he's going to sort of miss it. It's going to be one of those like misinterprets. He sort of kind of misinterprets them. I think that's what it is. So it's like once the treatments start working and he starts putting on size, he starts, kind of realizes these kids are his friends and not his enemies. Once he gets used to the whole scenario, he starts really liking it and really, um, really, really taking to the situation. And then I think like eventually, everything seems perfect, but then he realizes that there's sort of something missing. You know what? I can just take her legs off because we're not going to see them. Oh, let's see. See, they're off camera, so okay. Oh shoot! I'm sitting here talking and didn't put the picture in. Um, I'm gonna have to re-render that one then. Skip. It's the idea is like, it's sort of one of those like he realizes everything is perfect, but something ends up feeling missing from this life. And he kind of figures it out when it's maybe at a match, a meet, an event, or whatever, and a girl in the audience catches his eye. And it's sort of one of those, he's, it's like one of those where it's like then it hits him. He's got friends, he's got purpose, everything is going well, but he doesn't have love. And it sort of shifts to where, and the purpose of the story will shift to where he wants to get this girl to hook up with him. And I'm not sure what that'll do for, I'll just call it wrestling for, to describe the situation, whatever it ends up being. But, he doesn't know what that's going to do to his wrestling, quote unquote, career, to his like time with this facility. Okay, you know what? That's better. I'm going to I'll take that monitor out of the shot. And I'm going to turn her head. I'll end up cutting this out so I won't worry about the desk. But it's like in the idea that I don't have it fully brainstormed. There's a couple of possibilities as far as how it's going to affect. Um, so I think I'm going to go with the. What? Okay, so the question is, what is this? Oh. Um, oh, it's the speaker. Okay. There we go. So it's the idea, like, I think the attitude with the people running this place will be like, it'll either be that, like, well, you're not really a prisoner here, so, plus you're an adult at this point, like I said, multi-year story. So if you're ready to move on, the idea is like, if you're ready to move on, that's good for you. Um, I think there's another angle that I'm considering in my head. that sort of maybe is part of, it's sort of like improving his standing socially is part of the experiment. So it's not just that they're giving him these treatments and putting him through sort of the camp, so to speak, to boost his size. But I'm thinking maybe, instead of him just spontaneously meeting this girl, it's kind of part of it is that they're trying to hook these kids up. So that it's like the people running this facility, instead of him seeing this girl at a meet spontaneously, maybe these people are introducing these kids to sort of, are introducing these kids to girls to sort of like either get them used to social skills or whatever, or to kind of prepare them for their life past this sport. Yeah, he'll be laughing. He'll be too busy laughing at his outfit. Let's see. Well, I would have thrown another turnip for you, but very. So, like I said, I've been throwing together. I've been messing with character creation the last couple of days, and don't mind him. That's a character that never got. I didn't actually get to work on him yet, so let's just drop him out of the picture. Let's bring in the group. So it's like so far, like I've been playing. Oh my god! So I've been playing around, putting together something for the main character. Something sometimes what I do with these size change stories is I'll do, is I'll create a before and after version, and then, if it's um, like with little bro, um, like I did with little bro, is I'll use the before and after as a guide to which parameters to shift and how much throughout the story. Where to set the parameters so that I've got sort of a steady, even change. 34. Let me see. What do I want to do here? So the idea is I've mocked up before, a hypothetical before and after for a potential main character. I'll show you that in a minute. Hmm. It's put together here. It's sort of I've also. Okay, the order here got to be a mess. Okay, I can put you up here. Okay. Whoops. I've sort of, I'm not really sold on her, but I mocked up a character for the girl, the future girlfriend. I think might need reworking. I've mocked up for their trainer. Um, I don't know. It's again, I haven't really brainstormed it that deeply, so I don't know if the guy will just be the trainer, or if he'll end up being the one running the institute as well. And then I've put together one of the other guys. I think this is going to be condensed. Okay, that's good. I won't need this one, so let's change course here. I'm thinking, too, in order to keep things from being too complex, I'm thinking that they'll just have a small group training at this place. So it's like maybe at most there's either two or three other guys as part of this sort of experiment. It's not a huge, it won't be a huge stable of wrestlers. Nor will it be a huge sample size for their trial. And that's a possibility too, is that maybe initially he gets there and there's already two guys. There's two guys, and then maybe, he makes three, and then they pick up maybe a fourth one later on that he ends up being the mentor to. Let's see. That's a possible. Oh my God! Freaking stop that! That's a possible mini story arc. Is sort of his role in this camp ends up shifting from the newbie to the experienced guy. Like I said, it would be like a multi-year thing, so it's not a slow. So I mean, it's a slow. It's a slow growth. The Their height will be realistic if a little on the big side, and it'll be kind of the muscle growth that will be sort of like unnatural without being terribly monstrous, so to speak. Uh, Well, I don't know if I should be glad you're finally accepting that. Um, I'm sure you probably like I've been doing, and it's like while creating the characters, I've been doing a lot of test renders to see how they look, which I'm sure you probably saw a couple of them in the folder when I go opening this. When I go like opening pictures for this page. Okay, so let's see if we can do it. So, I think this is going to be my main character, or at least like what I've got in mind now. The before and the after. uh, so I think this one. I like both of these guys. So this guy will be one of the guys who's already trained there and starts bullying. And instead of doing a before and after mock up, this in theory would be the version of him that's there when he first arrives. So the idea is to just like gradually make him bigger. He's still get bigger as the story goes on, but he's kind of starting at this size instead of something smaller. And like I said, I'm not sold on her. Let's see that. So I'll kind of finish up here before finishing that. But so I'm not really sold on her, but this is the girl I put together. Maybe it's just the hair. I don't know. I thought that was a crazy hair to use. And then, like I said, I got the trainer over here. And he's another one I'm not entirely sold on. So I sort of used the skins from some of the older looking characters in my library, even though like the shape of the face isn't quite that of an older person. But I'm never really sold on him, no matter which skin I use. So I've just been playing around. And then like the one character you saw earlier that I kind of knocked out of the scene, he was supposed to be the third guy at this camp, but I never got to sort of reshaping him, or even settling on that being the skin for him. But let me pop this in real quick. But it's like I think I've talked about sort of the characters, the different models. There we go. Des Studios every few years their standard core figure is updated and gets a new number. So whereas the figures used in this story are Genesis 1 figures, I think the figures I've been using in here are Genesis 8. What do we want to do here? Uh, Select, shrink. So it's, I think, kind of like as they've been progressing through the iterations, they've been shifting their texture. They've been shifting the textures. So maybe around Genesis 2 and 3, they were optimizing them for 3 to light, and it's probably starting with Genesis 3 and moving into Genesis 8. They've been shifting from 3 to light to iRay. And so these are the 3 to light versions of the textures. In the viewport on the screen, they look like crap, but when you render them with the 3 to light figure, they actually look decent. So here's the first bully, so to speak. So this is him. Once he's rendered, that's what the texture looks like. I sort of like the cartoony look. I think it kind of the almost cartoony look. It kind of feels like it goes with what I'm thinking for this project, and I know he's the same way. But these aren't. So this was an earlier version of him, but it's not the same texture, not the same body shape. There were so there's another. That was another render where I changed the body shape a bit. So while this isn't the texture I went with here, it does sort of look very similar. So I'm hoping. So it's like in my head, that's what I'm really liking that. Like the almost, it like almost looks like a cartoon. Um, but let's finish this up. File, save. So that's what's been taking my attention away in the last couple of days. But I think too, it's a long ways away from even considering working on it. Because, like I said, it's not just that I've got other projects in mind before considering something new, but it's also like I want to brainstorm specifically what I want to do with it. And I think there's going to be a lot of smaller sets to put together for it. And Aiden, I'm sorry I'm not there to see you grow up, but I'm sure you are the kind of young man I'd be proud of. Doesn't sound much better than what you were trying to say Saturday, but I think they will love it when they get it. They'll be too busy laughing at this outfit. They're going to remember me for wearing Allie's old ball clothes. I would have thrown together a tunic for you, but there doesn't seem to be much point when you won't need it for very long. Oh, I don't know if I should be glad you're finally accepting that. So I gotta fix this. I get too busy talking about that project. Whoops. Control Z. Control Z. There we go. Now we can. Yeah, click on it. Try to sensitive, but I think it's I'm gonna change this because I like really don't want to shift the size of this box, but they will love it. Let's see. I may have to resize this anyways. It doesn't sound much better than what you were trying to say Saturday, but they will love it when they get it. almost thinking they will love it anyway. If I do that, I think this will come clean, trimming. Okay. And then what I can do is I can just make one trim and it'll still work. So I think I think it's sort of the angle I love with it, on top of like everything. So like one angle I love with it is that it's like is that it's sort of largely going to be like a homoerotic piece. It's going to be like it's going to be like heavily homoerotic until he meets this girl, and that's going to kind of soften it up. Image flatten. Sort of not that I want to do another, or I should say, it's not that I don't want to do another gay story or have like another set of gay characters after transforming Tyler and Gabe. But I think you capture both aspects of it. I think you hit the broad audience. You sort of hit like a broader audience. At least that's what I'm hoping. Is you sort of get the male on male action for the audience that is looking for that, and then you get sort of the male on female action for the audience that likes that. And hopefully, you strike a balance between trying to appeal all audiences. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. But, like that's, this just went off the rails. But, that was page 16. Anyway, I hope that was entertaining because that's what I've been up to while not working on this. And I will see you next time, probably a couple more times before this part is done.